Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. I know it has been a while. You know, there's any number of reasons that I haven't done any videos. Not going to get into it. We all know the reasons. Everybody has their reasons. But I'm working on some videos right now, for a change. So, we're at the back end of the car. The reason we're at the back end of the car is because I got all the junk out of the way in front of the car, and I'm able to move the car up here and work on the back end of the car. But today I'm going to talk about the rear valance back here. Yeah, rear valance. Yeah, rear, whatever you want to call that thing. You know, that probably somebody else has got a different name for it. But there's rear valance back here, and everybody buys these things and they say, "Oh man, it doesn't fit my car. Why doesn't it fit my car?" They put it up there and it's like it doesn't fit. We're going to talk about why a lot of times they don't fit. There's a couple of reasons why some of them don't fit, and even the factory ones sometimes won't fit your car after you've done some work to it. So we'll get down here, look at it, and we'll talk about many of the reasons why they don't fit and what you can do to make it fit. All right, well, we're going to start out down here at where I've got mine aligned at the moment. Now, it's not exactly where I want it to be. It's not perfect. Nothing ever is. It's not quite where I want it to be, but it is better than most. And if you notice right now, it's sitting a little wide up here because, as you'll see, this is interfering with the panel back up here. So this has got to be trimmed a little bit for that to suck in there and pull that up a little bit and pull this back. It's actually pretty nice, but it is a little proud out this way of the quarter panel right now. And this, getting rid of this little piece here and being able to suck it up against there, it's going to take care of most of that. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but most cars that I've seen at car shows, whether they're original cars or reproduction parts or, you know, taken off, put together many times, you can put your finger in. I mean, I could probably put my pinky in some of these gaps on some of these cars, and they're just really, really bad. So I'm pretty happy with that. The other side's pretty similar right now too. But we're going to go down the line here and talk about some other issues that I hope you can see as we go. And I'm going to roll you down on your IV stand. So just take a look at where this hole is here. Kind of follow these holes. Yep, that's a Cleco, and it is not in the hole. It's in its own hole. And we go by, and yes, plan to go there. Hope this camera is gone before we go there so I can film some stuff, because this GoPro is a piece of junk. So get on down to here. You can see we're starting to move up a little bit on that hole. I'm hoping you can see that. And we're moving up a little bit more. We come over here, moving up more, moving up more. So these are the ones that were, yep. All right, so you know, these holes here were stamped into this panel at whatever factory they were made at, and somebody probably put it slightly crooked into the machine, assuming they have a, or they put the jig on wrong and the jig was crooked, or they punched them all at once, or the jig was crooked, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if they're punched all at once or if it's a jig. Who knows? One way or the other, it was wrong. It's not the end of the world. There's just some holes. And as you can see, I've got this hole, this little Cleco holding this in. And if you're not familiar with these are aircraft tools. This is one of the newer ones. That's one of the quite old ones over here. It's an ancient one. But let's get over here and we'll look at this side over here. And this side, actually right now, because of the way I've got it sitting in place, doesn't look as pretty. But I have the same issue here. I'm pretty nice down here. But because of this little lip right here and the way this interferes here, once I trim this and I'm able to suck this against here, this is going to pull back up into here mostly. I don't want to make that curve any sharper than it is. You can do that, yes, and I have tweaked it a little bit. But if you mess this curve up and you start, okay, get you back over here. But if you take this curve here and you want to make this thing tuck up a little bit tighter, a little nicer, and you modify this curve, well, that's fine. Even if you do it nicely and it looks beautiful, it looks perfect, that's great on this side. But you could do that on the other side, and now you look at it from a distance, you're going to be able to see this, like, okay, this one, you know, the butt is a little tighter on this one than it is on that one, and it's just not going to look symmetrical. So in some cases, you'd be better off having a gap or having something sit proud just so that way when you're looking at it from behind, it doesn't look so much out of place. You got to fight your battles. You pick your battles on which ones to fight, and sometimes you need to lose in another area for the more obvious things to not stick out. So now I'm going to talk about the big issue, and I'm going to have to come up with a display here to show this. But the big issue is the reason a lot of these don't fit your car. I had to make sure I was actually in frame. I may just move this up a little bit. It's been quite a while since I filmed, so I got worse at it over time. But the issue is, you've got your car, you've got a bad quarter panel. You're going to replace that quarter panel. So all this stuff is off the car. Now, you've cut your quarter panel off, you put your quarter panel on here, and now you've got this end down here, this side. It's just flapping in the breeze, right? And this panel from the inside, it's just a 90-degree panel that's sitting like this, and it's a very flexible panel, okay? And this thing's just flapping in the breeze. And when you've done all this chiseling and all this messing with it, you know what? You may have bumped it that way. You may have bumped it that way. It could be bent from some other issue. It's bent one way or the other. It could be twisted. It could be crunched up. Whatever the case may be, and then you've crunched it up, you've replaced it. Well, now you've got another piece. So you've got a 90-degree piece here. Now you got your quarter panel. It's here. It can do this. Okay, so what's happening is that, and that joint will slip, and you may even look at the bottom where these two pieces to come together. You've got that little pinch weld, and that little pinch weld comes down, and you say, well, I want to make sure that that pinch weld is perfect at the bottom, and I want to make sure it's perfect. So you may pull that quarter panel out, you may push that quarter panel in at the bottom to get that pinch weld even with the existing piece in there. If you do that, what have you done? You've changed the curve of the quarter panel. And by doing that, you have now screwed up the fit with this piece. So that's why before you weld your quarter panel on, this needs to be on the car. This needs to be on the car before you weld quarter panels in. It has to be. If it's not, you are going to fight tooth and nail getting this piece to fit. Now, whether that means trimming the edges, extending the edges, it's one of those things you don't think about at the time, but afterwards it's like, yep, I did it to myself, I messed up. And it's a tough fix because you don't want to take that quarter panel loose. You don't want to take that all loose and then be able to, you know, move it back and forth. That's a lot of welds. And in some cases, yeah, it would be easier just to modify this piece right here. So, you know, again, you go the way you want to go, which way you want to fix it. But the thing is, don't make yourself fix it. Make sure you do it right the first time. And just like Barry says, you know, Barry drills into everybody over on Joe Daddy's Garage. My mind went blank, sorry. Over on Joe Daddy's Garage, you know, Barry is constantly telling people to test fit. And this is a perfect example why you test fit. Because even if you have a factory one, you put this on, it might not fit. You don't know. So that's why you really need to test fit this thing before you weld this on. This needs to be attached on the car where it needs to be. And then you can fiddle with this quarter panel in and out. I would rather have the curve at the bottom here slightly too much or slightly in or out than have to fix this piece here, because this is a compound curve here. This is not a simple thing to recurve into there. And from here down in this area here, if you were to pull out or push in that little bit there, you're not going to notice that from the side. It's such a minute amount, you won't notice it. So that's your biggest tip on how to make this fit better. All right, the biggest pain in the butt you're going to have, fiddly wise, on these panels back here, or they're going to be, there's stuff getting dropped on the floor because I'm clumsy. Okay, so you've got all these screws across the top here, and down here in the bottom here, there is a little plate. As you can see, it's not attached, but there's a little plate that's down here, a little hole and a little nut and a screw and all that kind of stuff that goes to the inside. The biggest tip I can tell you on fitting this panel before you even put this thing on the car is take these off. Never seen them fit. You might want to test fit your panel. Your panel might fit, who knows, but these things tend to be generally way too tall and push the panel out way too far. So in most people find that just take these off to start with, get your panel fit where it wants to fit, and then come back, modify these brackets as needed, and then these will end up on the, obviously on the inside here. There is a little bit of I got tried spot welding or something on there, no, I actually was using I put a stud welder on there, put a stud in there, trying to just use that as a holding point. It didn't really work that well. So you might want to take these off. Not to mention that you're going to find stuff like, you know, on the backside there where there is no plating and there's already some rust because there's no plating on that at all. This one is really not as bad, but yeah, that one there, you can see that there's no EDP plating on there, coating on there, and it's already rusting. And if it's rusting in my shop from whatever time that it probably rusted before I ever got the panel, because I've got pieces that I've bead blasted and stripped down and bare steel. It'll sit for 6 months and not really a problem in here. It gets hot in here, but it stays relatively, the dew point stays to a point where you don't have any dew, and that's, dew point's more important when it comes to rusting steel than it is humidity. Yeah, because if your stuff gets this gets below the dew point, then dew attacks it. So, but moisture in the air, if it doesn't get cold enough, the items don't get cold enough, you don't have the moisture, liquid moisture on it, so the rusting's not quite as big of an issue. It still happens, obviously, but not to the extent because you don't have the liquid water on it. But okay, I'll stop talking, blabbering on about that. So, like I said, take these off, modify them after the fact. I wish I had one of those little spot welders. I know Barry got one of those things recently. It's one of those things that a friend of mine that used to teach at the high school, we had bought one of the big water-cooled ones. And nice machine. It was a big Miller. It was a nice machine, had a timer on it and everything. And for automotive work, spot welder would be great, but a spot welder to like really put panels together where I would be happy with them, I can't carry that spot welder because it's just too big and too heavy. The little ones are great for this kind of stuff, great for tacking stuff into place, but you know, it's one of those, it's on the list of things I would like. The list that top of the list right now is to replace this camera, because I always complain about this GoPro. I'm hoping I can get my Canon T3 sold. If I can get that sold, maybe I can get this little GoPro sold to some customer, guy, some hopeful person that would like that GoPro. It doesn't like me, so, maybe we should part ways. But hopefully I'll get a new camera here pretty soon, and it will be a lot easier for me to film at that point. It's just, I spend so much time fighting with this camera versus actually filming, because it shuts off on me. It does funny things. You name it. I do plan on going with Insta360. I'd like to go with the Ace Pro. That's what I want to go with. So anyway, Christmas list. Oh, that's what she told me to put it on my Christmas list. So, and I said no. So, but all right. So that's basically the biggies on getting this panel fit. There is a couple little tricks you can do when it doesn't quite fit the way you want, and I'll get you on the side over here and just kind of show you really quickly. It's just really simple little things. All right, so now as you can see, we're pretty good right here, and up here we're looking a little big. It's not big. It looks big. It's not actually big because it's being held off. But when you're working on this, and see, we're touching right here, and say you've got this already, up against here like you're supposed to, which I don't at the moment, and you just want to work on the flex of this thing, just stick something in here. Just stick something in there like a wood stick, and then just kind of put your hand across here in a big area, not in one point, but in a bigger area, and just kind of push, and just keep pushing, and just kind of work it out into the shape you want. And then it would be the opposite. If it's too much like this, then you can, if too much like this, too much like that, you can work with it either way. But you don't need to take it off the car and sit here and manhandle it and beat it. Just kind of flex it and bend it into place. Now, you have to remember that this is a compound curve. So when you're doing this, if you say I'm going to pull the bottom this way, that's also going to pull the curve out of this a little bit too. It's going to pull out a little bit. So just, be cognizant and keep an eye on that, and make sure you don't go too far that you end up wrinkling something over here and doing more harm than good. Because this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is far better than any of the ones I've seen it as on a factory car picture, the way they came out of the factory. Because like I said, I've looked at most of them, and I can put my fingers in there. So I'm relatively happy with that. It's not exactly where I want it to be yet, but it's close. All right, guys. Well, I know that's kind of a little short video, but it's just a few things to look at, and this is a common problem for a lot of guys when they're fitting these, and they always forget about the quarter panels, because they'll put their corner panels on, they'll get that ready to go, and they say, all right, now let's put the rest on. And they're like, oh crap, it doesn't fit. It's like, what happened? What did I do wrong? What you did wrong is you didn't put this on and test fit it before you welded your quarter panels. And I almost did that myself, because I figured at the time, it's like, oh no, I'll just put it on there. And I was sitting here thinking about it, looking at it, it's like, no, I need to check that. I need to check that. And had I welded those quarter panels on where they kind of fell into place and where I thought they should go at the time, this panel would have been really ugly. It would have been really ugly. It would have been either putting your fingers in there, or it would have been overlapping. One of the two, or both, or one on each. And I'll leave you with one really good tip for any body work you do on a car. Any body work you do on a car. Because it's your car, you're going to be driving it, right? Make sure that this side here, make sure this looks good here, okay? Make sure the driver's side looks good. Make sure the driver's side and the back end, this quarter here, and same with the front quarter. Make sure those areas look good. Because you know what? You're not going to be on the other side of the car. You're rarely going to be on the other side of the car. So make the side that you get in and out of, make sure that side looks really good. Because that's the side you're going to see all the time. The other side, yeah, not so much. Don't worry about it as much. Should you? Yeah. But focus on getting this side to look good. Because the passengers, who cares? The best thing is, the best car in the world would only have one seat. No passenger seat, no back seat. See, you save fuel, you're faster on the road, it handles better, and you get there in a better mood because there's nobody else in the car. So with that, I'm ready to go on vacation for a change. It's been a while, so I'll see you later.